And we're here today with Cristina Garcia, and you're running for state assembly.
Yes.
Here in the new 58th.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background. Who are you?
Short story. I was born and raised in the city of Bell Gardens, and a lot of people looked after me for 18 years, and I went off to school and accumulated a lot of degrees, and haphazardly I came back to my district. My parents got sick, and I just felt like I needed to come back and take care of them a little bit. And so in the process, my sister, I was complaining. I was like, you know, it's kind of a shame. The only thing we have to show in my 30-something years of life is this Ross and this Marshalls in my city. I'm like, there has to be more. And so she looked at me and she told me, well, you're the problem. And I was like flabbergasted. I was like, me? So she's like, yeah, people like you go, you get these degrees and you never come back, you know, and so how do you expect us to move forward? And so at that point, I decided to get engaged at a local level, and I started going to council meetings, and I started pushing for more transparency, more access, you know, more encouragement of participation, and I got a lot of pushback from my council members.
Well, that's in Bell Gardens.
That's in Bell Gardens.
Okay.
I became
and that's
a thorn.
it's part of the council district.
Part of the district.
Okay.
I became a thorn in their rear ends, I guess. And through that, the city of Bell people heard about me one day, and so they invited me over. And at first I was just, you know, sure, I could sit down and break down the information and just figure out why you're a charter city, how your taxes got this way. And that's kind of what it was about. And along the way, I was constantly trying to get the media engaged in any city. I didn't care if it was Bell Gardens, Bell, Maywood, Cudahy. It was just like, just come, one of these has to hit. I was being nosy in Maywood, I was being nosy in Linwood. I was like, so one of these is going to hit one of these days. And it turns out that there were a lot of people who were doing the same thing, we just we're doing it together. So Bell broke, and when Bell broke, we decided to take advantage of the opportunity, and we started the group BASTA, which spearheaded the recall.
Now, what does BASTA stand for?
Bell Association to Stop the Abuse.
Okay.
And so it spearheaded the recall, it spearheaded the movement to ask for the resignation of administrators, and you know, it's pretty much making sure the media stayed there so that we had the support we needed to move forward. And now it's helping with the actual government piece of how do we engage residents, how do we change the culture of governance in the city and be a model for the surrounding cities. So that work there continues, and that's the real work. I feel getting them out, as much as it was work and I never slept, was the easy part. The hard part is making sure we have a long-term plan.
So why running for state assembly?
I wasn't going to because I was pretty tired, but I felt like there's a sense of responsibility. You know, once you're a leader in your community, people expect more, and a lot of folks were approaching me like, well, what are you going to do for Bell Gardens? What are you going to do for Montebello? You know, and all these other cities. And are we really going to let someone like the Calderons keep running and pissing on our side of the world? And I said, well, okay, you know, this is BS, and I'm saying I'm tired. Like, let's do it. If I was able to take on George Cole, who's the best friend of Tom Calderon, let's take on the Calderons now. And the same thing, just like when the story broke with the LA Times, it was a window of opportunity, and you have to be fearless and take advantage of it. The same thing here, given where we're at with society, with the environment, across partisan lines, you know, everyone's pretty dissatisfied with their government. So I kind of feel like I could go up there and make them better, hold them accountable to their promise to work for us.
So how's your campaign going so far?
It's going well. You know, I started in January, so I announced really late, so that's been interesting, but in a way it's been kind of nice to be the dark horse coming from the back. And, you know, I wasn't going to get all of the elected officials behind me. I came in slowly, but in a way it's kind of nice. I don't know them anything now. We managed to block some key endorsements where my opponents already had them, like, locked down, and that was a big deal. No one expected that to happen. So since then, we've gotten the legal conservation voters to come on board and help us out. I think one of the things that's really important to me is with the 710 corridor, we have a lot of asthma problems, we have a lot of health issues, you know, so it's not about just green technology, making my greener planet, but it's about reducing the health diseases. We have some of the highest levels of obesity in our district. A lot of it has to do with both, you know, our air contamination, but also do we have safe streets for our kids to go out there and play. So, you know, we have this new, like, move or burp campaign at a federal level, but, you know, I think about my street as, like, I have cars speeding down my block constantly. How am I going to get them out there to be healthy? And so we need those parks, we need those green spaces, and so I feel like it's all tied together. This is how this group came on board. And, you know, some other, I think, advocacy groups are going to come on board too. But the community in general has been really excited. And so I feel the same mentality that got us through Bell is going to get us through this piece.
So what's the biggest problem facing California, in your opinion? And we go to Sacramento, what's the first thing you've got to fix?
Okay, at an abstract level, I think it's the culture we have where it's for the individuals and their friends and not for the people anymore. And so I want to definitely help hold them accountable, bring more transparency, more access to government. Something as simple as I should be able to look online and know exactly how much money is my elected official getting, not just from their position as an elected official, from all the commissions they sit on, from all the trips they take. And make it easy. How is it that Facebook has made it so easy for me to find so much information I want about anybody that I grew up with, but I can't seem to figure out any information about my elected officials? But, you know, like, let's get it together. That's easy. Let's think about how, not just throw information out there, but what's going to be something that's going to be easy for me to search. So a one-stop place. Education, you know, we have a big problem with education. We're cutting adult school, we're cutting vocational programs. I would love everyone to go to college. I loved all my college experience that I had, but that's not going to be the reality for all of our students. So let's get them some skills that they can, you know, be employed. Why are we going to keep exporting our jobs or importing people to take these jobs when we have a necessity here? We have some of the highest unemployment rates in our district. So I think that's a big deal. But without trust, we're never going to fund these programs properly because we don't trust Sacramento to do what's right with our money.
So what do you think about the new California open primary? Everybody running together on the same ballot, same ticket, same party. You like it?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I think one of the things we have to do is we have to stop the bickering and cross, you know, it's not about am I a Republican or a Democrat, but from two ideas, let's come up with a better third idea. And I think, you know, that this open primary allows us to start to push this idea of, you know, I could have someone who, I've been a Democrat all my life, but I'm a reformer, I'm about good government, and I think that that crosses party lines. So I like this. I think it's created an opportunity for someone like me. If there was not an open primary, I don't know that I would be able to steal the seat or, you know, take the seat this time around.
Do you think because you have 5 Democrats and 1 Republican? Do you think that puts the Republican automatically into the runoff, or?
I think the Republican has a good chance of getting into the runoff, definitely. And, you know, I mean, we didn't have an open primary, she would have still been in the runoff. You know, I think it's about who's going to be the best candidate, who's going to go up there and help keep these boys accountable, you know, and so, you know, and who's going to really advocate for our district.
Let's talk about the California pension system and public employees pension system. I know that you were huge. I mean, you were one of the people who brought out the revelations in regards to the pensions that Mr. Rizzo was getting in Bell.
Yes.
And so, how do you fix the California pension system? Or does it need to be fixed?
No, it needs to be fixed. I mean, we can start with that premise. It needs to be fixed, and I think if anyone says that it's working, they're delusional. I started off as a high school teacher, so I started off as a public employee.
Where'd you go to high school?
Huntington Park High School. I was teaching math back in 1999. So I started off there, and first of all, teachers have the lowest pensions for any public service. We're not part of Social Security, so you know it's interesting. We don't get to accumulate vacation. After a certain number of days, they pay us out or we lose it, you know, and so they close on our loopholes. But when you look at other public service people who are at the top, like the city manager, they could accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. Rizzo accumulated close to $700,000 for vacation and sick days, which means that he was going to cash it out, and at the end of the day, they were going to pay him salary based on that.
In a city that's 1 square mile.
Right, 2 square miles.
2 square miles.
But you know, that's the problem. When you look at CalPERS, the top 10 recipients right now are $3.5 million a year of pension. CalPERS will tell you that their average pension is $30,000, which means that these 10 people are taking 100 people's pensions. That's where we have the problem. We need to close those loopholes. You know, when I was a teacher, and it's like, you know, I went to school for 7 years to become a teacher or graduate school and so forth, and I'm going to be earning only $40,000 to begin with. Well, I'm expecting I'm going to have some sort of a pension at the end. It's part of the deal why I'm taking this big cut. As a math person, I could go get a much better job. That's why there's a shortage of math teachers.
So are you a teacher currently?
I'm a professor now.
And where at?
This semester I'm teaching at LA City College.
Oh, beautiful.
I've taken
What are you teaching?
Math.
Wow.
So I've been doing math and stats for a really long time. My background has mostly been in math and stats, but when I went to graduate school, I also decided that I wanted to figure out more about government, and so my studies then became public administration at USC. So it's a balance. I love numbers. I like looking at stats, but I also know how easy it is to manipulate stats and tell whatever story you want to tell. And so, you know, I think one of the things that our legislators do is that either they let themselves be fooled by numbers by lobbyists, or they themselves choose to take numbers that are, you know, convenient.
So talk to us about some of your key supporters. Who do you have lined up on already backing you in your campaign?
The community. This is a community effort,
okay.
You know, and that's going to be really how it gets done. Most of my donors have been community members who are really excited community businesses. But the biggest group has been the League of Conservation Voters, who has now jumped on board. I think through them, we're also going to hopefully get the consumer attorneys on board. One of the things that I'm really frustrated with is these like nursing programs, these private nursing programs or private education programs that come and promise you the world, and kids are taking out $50,000 in loans. But at the end of the day, they're getting LVN, a $15 job that is being phased out of California, and they can't transition into becoming a regular nurse.
Right.
And so it's this very predatory behavior. I was talking to a group of veterans yesterday, the new predatory behavior of people coming in saying, I'm working with businesses, we want to help get you a job because you're a service person, but it's going to cost you $500 just to get started. This is predatory behavior, and so we need to, you know, put an end to this. And so I think through this work, through my advocacy work, the consumer attorneys, I think will come on board in the next few days.
So how can voters get in contact with you?
They can call me directly on my cell phone.
And
I still pick up my own phone.
And that is?
213-215-2621.
Okay.
They could go to our website, Cristina Garcia, 2012.com.
Okay.
And they can learn all about my different stuff there that I like to do, what I'm advocating for.
Are you going to have a headquarters opening? Or?
We're going to have a headquarters opening this weekend in the city of Downey.
Okay.
It's going to be on Paramount, and so that address will be up on the website very shortly. I just have to go pick up the key before I give out the address.
Always details in campaigns.
Yeah, but we're going to be opening soon, and we're already knocking on doors out there, so if someone wants to volunteer, you know, come aboard. I will tell this to people. You can't pass up on me. This is our time, and it's not about me, and it's not about getting me into office. If we're going to make a difference and get rid of this culture of self-service for our elected officials, we need to do it now. The window is now, because I don't know that we're going to have this chance in 10 years, so you cannot afford to pass up on me this time around.
You have a cast on your leg. Yes. I didn't show it on the camera, but she has a cast on her leg. What happened?
I've been kicking ass. I fell and I broke my leg the second week of January, which is when I announced I was running for office. But, I mean, it's a broken leg. It is what it is. It's going to heal. And it speaks to who I am. I'm going to work hard. I'm not going to get anything get in my way, you know, and I'm going to find a way to get around whatever barriers we encounter along the way. And so it's been a challenge. It's been interesting. But, you know, in the grand scheme of it all, it's not the end of the world.
Well, we thank you for coming in today. That's great.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right.